Welcome to Conscious Dominance, a DSRX studio production. These weekly conversations explore how to approach mindful leadership and inner dominance within the powerful container of committed, intentional relationships. Join Eric as he invites new dialogues, sharing practical insights for how the craft of consciousness opens the aperture to love, serve, and connect with unwavering presence.
Hello, welcome to Conscious Dominance. This is Eric. This is part 2 of our special year in review series, highlighting some of the most impactful moments from seasons 3 and 4. In this episode, you'll hear excerpts from conversations I had with Andrew, also a few powerful sessions with Rachael, and some solo reflections I put together along the way. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey with us. Appreciate every listen, every share, and all the ways that you show up. Season 5 kicks off next week. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at DSRX Studio and check the link in the show notes to stay connected. Thanks again, and enjoy this episode.
All the ways that we are driven by fear, if someone's listening to this and they're new to this concept, until you stop taking someone else's stuff personally, you cannot love them. Most people go through life trying to control every external reality so they can feel okay. I can change and be okay regardless of external circumstances. That's freedom.
There's either growth or there's decay, and staying still is decay. So the growth comes from taking responsibility. And to take responsibility is the opposite of taking it personally. If you take it personally, you're not taking responsibility.
It is my belief that we can get to a point where we cannot be triggered, where we can feel solid regardless of the circumstances. I'm not there, but I have to believe that's possible for me to approach life in the way that I do. I need to believe that is possible because that is the direction that I am attempting to go with my own experience. Now, this isn't about not letting anything else trigger me. This is about me being able to be okay regardless of the circumstances that I'm in. And getting to that point where I really am beyond the ability to be triggered starts with being triggered. It starts with, it has to happen where you don't know that it's happening. And then once you see it, some people might start to see some of themselves in what they're hearing here in this podcast.
Not making assumptions is a courageous act because we have to be clear with our communication. If we are not clear, we are going to get something in return that we don't necessarily want, or we're fuzzy in our communication because we're making an assumption that that person knows. One of the qualities of communicating clearly is not only me communicating to this person clearly, but it's also being able to listen.
So rather than assuming that somebody meant to do something to hurt us, like you set a time to meet someone for lunch and they show up late, do you automatically assume that they don't value your time? Do you assume that they're being disrespectful?
We assume that others think the way we think, feel the way we feel, judge the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. This is the biggest assumption that humans make. We have to have courage to risk being the fool initially, and that is leadership. If it's something that's important to you and you really value it, at the very least, have the courage to desire it, to ask for it. And I think that takes courage.
We have to speak up for what we want, what we need, what feels important to us, and also have the humility to recognize that could and probably will cause waves if the relationship has been built on assumption making.
Often arguments are based upon assumptions. Arguments are essentially taking something personally and making assumptions combined together, and then all of a sudden there's an argument.
I'm talking about the courage of challenging your own beliefs and being willing to be wrong.
And the only way to really step into true power and true dominion and true conscious dominance is to actually be living a life that feels authentic to us.
Congruence is being the same person on the inside and on the outside. Being the same person in private, in secret, as you are with your woman, as you are with your friends. And to really be congruent, you don't change other people's perceptions of you. You have to align yourself with reality. When life falls apart, when shit goes south, when you tried to get away with it and you didn't get away with it because you don't ever get away with it, and it all comes crumbling down. Now that is the biggest gift, because now you're grounded, you're landed back in the truth. Like, this is what it is. That's all. Like, this is what's left.
Right.
And now you can actually go somewhere because you're not up in the clouds. You're not in all of these deception. You're in truth. The truth is what is, right?
That's so true. And I think the people that are drawn to your lies, you ultimately don't respect them. If you live a false life and there are people loving you because of your false life, and you're women and all this stuff, ultimately underneath, you don't respect them. But you live what is, you're true to who you are, you're honest, you're vulnerable, you're brave in being authentic, and someone loves you there. That's your ride or die. That's your person. And that's the person that's there.
You can't respect someone who likes you because of your lies, because it's not about respect. It's about getting validation from them.
This agreement of being impeccable with your word has this, it's the foundational quality of unlocking what it is to be a magician, what it is to be someone who could create and alchemize and manifest and turn ideas into things and ideas into a reality that's much bigger than what we could ever imagine.
You can't ever get somewhere when you'll never allow yourself to be where you are.
Right.
And that's why, for me, this whole concept of always do your best, it really does come down to compassion with yourself.
Yeah.
Because then your effort matters. It comes down to compassion with yourself. It comes down to living according to values that matter to you. And then just showing up, like you said so a little bit ago, just showing up every day and continuing to show up and put forth effort to become not something other than what you are, not something better than what you are, but to keep showing up for yourself, to keep going more deeply inward, and to become the most authentic version of yourself that you can, to let go of as much bullshit as you can that doesn't matter and doesn't actually represent the real, true Andrew.
When you have grace, you have an understanding that doing your best is enough. And then the grit is saying, but you still got to do your best. It's still calling you out that you got a little more, you got a little extra you can give, you got a little bit more that you could go for it. It's still pushing you forward. But then grace says, and that's enough. It's like asking you to push yourself, and this side saying, and that's enough. And so if you can constantly, this tension between grit and grace, and that's where the growth comes from, that the growth and progress comes from being gritty and gracious. That it's actually both of them together is really what makes this happen.
Have you ever been around a woman who's really alive? I call it sparkling. That energy, that X factor, there's just something to her, and it's magnetic. Be yourself. Stop worrying about trying to be in your masculine, trying to be in your feminine. Just be you. If you are naturally a masculine being, you're going to operate in a masculine way, which means you're going to start feeling passionate and driving for results and trying to make an imprint on the world, to change the world and create the world more in your image.
Your courage to listen to your own inner voice is really what the point of being a hero is.
And this is why equality doesn't work in relationships. It works great for friendships, it works great for comfort, but it kills the sexual attraction and it kills the emotional intensity in a relationship when a man and a woman are the same. There's no space to attract or magnetize. There's nothing polarizing.
One of the things that I was thinking about it was the polarity as a tool. It's like gravity. If we're unaware of gravity, then we can't use gravity. We might just jump off something and then have something impact. We're like, why did that happen? Well, that's the way most relationships exist. They're kind of going through life oblivious to the gravity that's there, as you said. They're wondering why the relationship has lost its fire. And if they can realize that you can actually use polarity as a tool to turn the volume up, and that there are these very specific things that can be done in a relationship in order to polarize the situation. All the emotional spectrum is energy. Our capacity to dictate our energy is our capacity to use polarity as a tool. And so I'd love for you to explain to whoever's listening, how can we use polarity as a tool?
If you want to be in a relationship for 15 years and have the sex be hotter, kinkier, more intense, dirtier, more fun than it was at the beginning, yes, you have to do it and you have to set her free. You will never, ever get in good shape by sitting on the couch and eating potato chips. You will never have a long-term relationship that stays hot by just sitting back and expecting it to happen out of obligation or because she's supposed to, or blaming it on her that it's not happening. Forcing that outcome without earning it will only result in everything blowing up. So in order for it to work over the long run, we have to be putting ourselves in a position where what she gives to us is coming from a place of fullness in her. Mm-hmm. One of the best ways that you can give to your woman is by taking care of yourself, giving to yourself and making yourself stronger, more solid, more grounded, more mature. You are giving to her by giving to yourself. Not just get what I want. What I really want is to see that woman alive. What I really want is to see her bubbling with joy, Eros, and excitement.
And I think ultimately, if we think about dominance, leadership without service is selfish. It's narcissism.
If you want to lead your woman, if you want her to follow you, you got to be going somewhere. You can't lead her standing still. The biggest gift, the biggest service that we can be to our women and to the entire world around us is to bring enough consciousness and awareness to our own experience to be solid in any circumstance. I'm proud of myself for creating a life that I don't need to escape from. We just enjoy every single day. What are you proud of yourself for that you've created?
I think I'm proud of myself for this year. Truly, we talked about this in the last episode, but I've created a safe space inside. I'm proud of what's happening inside of me. I'm proud that when I'm by myself, for the first time in my life, and it truly was born this year, I am a safe space for myself. I know how to nurture myself. At peace in myself. There are times when the demons will come, but the baseline, like the water and it levels out, that's actually a good spot for me. And that's the first time that I've ever had that. I'm proud of it. I feel good about that.
You don't need a vacation when there's nothing to escape from. And that was one of those little things along the path for me that was like, yeah, you know what? That's the kind of life I want to live. I want to live a life where I don't need to escape from it, where I'm just actually enjoying every day rather than looking forward to a vacation.
Right.
So now when I want to take action on something, I have the capacity, I have the space. Slowing down and creating the space for something new and better to come along in your life. And that's really what it means to regenerate, is like, even when you stop, it's not dead.
Exactly.
What comes out of the slowness is the most valuable thing, because everything else is gone.
But instead of seeing that as a negative thing, that's actually literally part of the whole point. That's life. Instead of saying that this is the end, just think it's a slowdown. It's a time for us to reinvent or make some adjustments and then pick up. If the economy slows down, okay, good. There's things that are cheap. Let's go buy some stuff. It's not bad. It's just, if you know that there's cycles that come, there's always cycles.
Life to me is not about what battle am I fighting and winning. It's about choosing the right battles in the first place. And I can't choose the right battles if I'm just constantly going in one direction and too afraid of maybe losing a battle or of missing out on something, dropping a ball, to slow down for a minute and see, am I even going in the right direction? Exactly. Life is a process of constantly letting go of everything that is not right for us, that is not authentic to us.
I have had bankruptcies, divorces, injuries, demises, and all kinds of crazy stuff in my life. My mom once said, Eric, you have the capacity to get up again. And it's true. And that there is just this thing that I've been thinking about lately. It's such a simple concept, but it's so important and vital. Just believe that there's something on the other side of this, that it's possible. And it's sometimes when we're going through a rebirth is a combination of accountability and grace. And that's why my values, two top values, grit and grace.
If a building doesn't have integrity, it collapses. And if I, as a man, don't have integrity, I collapse. Plain and simple. That's just how it works. To really be a man with integrity, you have to know who you are and then be that and deal with all of the shit that comes up that makes you terrified to actually be the person that you are, that you were born to be. Are you going to sacrifice your honesty for money, or will you sacrifice money for your honesty? If both those things are values, you have to look at which one is more important. When he is who he says that he is, right? His actions align with his words. His actions and his words align with something deeper, and it's all congruent. You can trust a man who has integrity, not because he's going to force himself to follow through on everything, but that he's not going to promise to follow through on something that he isn't going to.
Integrity is a verb. It's not some static thing that you just get there and you're there.
The challenge of integrity is integrating all of this so we can take action in alignment with something true. The relationship is the ultimate practice ground for all of this work, because a woman will, by her design and nature, find those places that you are out of integrity, that you're out of alignment, and show them to you by the ways that she feels around you. To me, masculine energy is outgoing energy. It's output. It's expression. It's our doing energy. It's our action energy. And in turn, feminine energy is our receptive energy. It's where we receive. It's the energy of receptivity. A woman who is kicking ass and taking names, she's driven, she's setting goals, she's going after and accomplishing things. Her masculine energy is in her lower body.
The heart is everything.
Emotionally being unflappable. I use this phrase, untriggerable. Peace. And not just peace by being disconnected from anything that could make me feel unpeaceful, but peace no matter what's going on around me. If every man on the face of the earth went and did trauma healing work and healed himself from the things that he went through when he was young, we would realize that men not only can have strength and power, but our world needs men who have strength and power. When we have our heart open, you cannot do something that is going to harm someone else, because you are going to feel the pain that person feels that is
Mm-hmm.
being dished out to them. We are strong creatures. We are built to conquer. We're built to destroy if we need to. And we need that strength and our hearts open to keep a check on that inside of ourselves.
Yeah, you're anti-fragile.
And that's what's possible. And it hurts to get there, but it is worth it. I promise you, it is so much better of a way to live. The world and women need men who have this clarity, this ability to see with an open heart. We're built for that. She needs us to help her see herself. She needs the mirror of us.
You're sitting and you're looking in the mirror at all the ways that you have betrayed yourself and its potential. And you have to sit with that.
And the reality is, the reason we're angry, like you said, it's because you've betrayed yourself. You have abandoned the truth of who you are, what you need to try to keep the peace, to try to please her, to try to do something. I've called this going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. Like, I realized my life was way over here, and I'd been running towards this thing, this false version of me, this thing that I thought I needed to be, or that I had created in my own head as what was the ideal or the good version of me. We betray ourselves because our potential really is inherent. It's based in who we are, and we don't have to go somewhere else. We have to come back to ourselves. Come back to that person that we would have been if we hadn't tried so hard to be someone else. You have to fall in love with the process rather than being concerned with the destination. To care about how you're impacting the world is to have your heart open. To be afraid of upsetting anyone by doing what you want to do, that's having your heart closed. And in that, you can realize that you can always be there for you. You have always been there for you. You will always be there for you.
Men, your sexuality is not a problem. Your desire to be dominant and to be a leader and to be in your power is not a problem. It's actually the solution.
Because on the other side of that pain, of going through that pain that was stuff, is a life of calm, a life of centeredness. You are always enough for yourself. The love you've been looking for outside of yourself is you. It's always been you, and it will always be there for you.
I've always dated men who are very threatened by what I do for a living and what I had to say and how powerful I am as a sexual being, as an electricity coming through the line. It's amazing to be with someone who's, what else you got? Bring more. Come on. Give me more. Let's go.
Is that it? Is that all?
Is that all? Bring that and let's share more. We have more. Let's do more. Let's talk about this. And it was like, what?
I want to share
That's
you.
really changed a lot.
Yeah, I want to share you.
You do. And that's very different. And naturally, as a woman, been aware of how to stay safe. And so for both of us to encourage each other to be here, to be able to bring our story more and more into not just to one-on-one clients and my friends and my family, we're all aware of this, but to really bring that into something that feels like a much bigger dynamic that is laced into all. But how can we bring that more front and center with intention and with consciousness?
I think the podcast for me has been this exploration of what actually is the process of moving from that early stage of unconscious dominance into another place called conscious dominance. And I think it's been this journey for me to go through this. And so the expectation was more of what the stereotype was. I had these cherished outcomes, which wasn't quite what you said, but similar in the sense that I was going to be the man and be the dom, and I was going to just be able to make things happen, and it was going to be able to be what you would think it would be. And the reality is nothing like that. The reality is much more complicated, much more nuanced, much more full of paradoxes and subtleties and growth and healing, and far, far more exhilarating and awesome and growing and powerful and regenerative and dynamic and vital than I could ever imagine.
And I'm glad you're both doing that. The world needs these voices, so I'm glad that you're using yours.
If you don't like it, take action. If you don't like your life, take action. And
we're not going to get anywhere by not taking action. And I think as someone who's very connected to a more conscious, spiritual space, you start feeling like not taking action is somehow holy. And that until you're in some rarefied air where you've purified all of your elements and all of yourself, can't take any action, can't do anything. And in that, in and of itself, you're not taking responsibility for your life. And so that's why if you put first and foremost, take responsibility as your guiding principle, it forces you to take action.
Because if you're running away from who you actually are with your actions, it doesn't matter how much action. Whatever's going on with me is happening in me. It's not happening out there.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't doing it to me. You aren't doing it to me. I'm feeling this way. I'm the one having the response. There are things in our lives that we absolutely deserve to be angry about. And we can destroy with our anger. But if we're directing it towards evil, if we're directing it towards lies, if we're directing it towards things that are untrue, and we are destroying that which needs and deserves to be destroyed in this world, rather than lashing out in self-protection, you are either happening to your life or your life is happening to you. There's no in between. Do you have a plan for your life, or are you reacting to your life?
Don't get stuck, to all the listeners out there, that it has to look a certain way. That's often a superficial version of it. The actual reality of it is not being reactive, living in your integrity, taking responsibility, and showing up in the world where people are actually surrendering and submitting to you in a way where you're not controlling them. It just happened because of your presence. And that's when you feel this amazing feeling.
The desire for dominance in a lot of cases is the desire to try to have control over a life in which he feels out of control. Dominance is the ability to be present with what is, accepting, appreciating, maybe even enjoying uncertainty, and not trying to control what you can't control. Maybe even playfully engaging with the moment and leading forward from the truth.
When you stop controlling things and you get into a place where you allow life to have its own presence, you open up the possibility of things that are way beyond and way better than something that you could premeditate or plan. There begins to be a collaboration with life. I've experienced that quite a number of times. To me, that's where I become something beyond just a dom or a conscious dom. I become almost like a host of just awesome life, like something happening that's just, there's a sparkle to it. There's an awe to it. There's a Japanese word that says sugoi, which means, wow, that's awesome. Those experiences, they are not something that we can always do ourselves. And they almost feel, like the best orgasms are like that, where you're not trying to make it happen. You're just creating a fertile ground for which her to do her expression and her place, and for that to be possible.
And every single time in my life that something tragic, something shitty, something terrible, something painful has happened, something good has come out of it. This is what regeneration is all about. It's about letting things die that need to die, because you cannot have something better come up in its place until the thing that needs to die, meaning the thing that needs to go away, the thing that no longer has a place in your life, the thing that doesn't fit into your integrity or fit with your values or fit with your integrated identity.
Once you take accountability for your life, you've got to have courage. You have to face the reality. You have to face the feelings and energies and emotions that you've got going on in your life. You have to face the facts of your life. You have to face the despondency of the people under your care. You have to face your woman. You have to face the reality of your bank account. You have to face your physical ailments. It takes fortitude and resilience to be able to get up every day and show up to that.
There's a certain kind of gentleness that only true strength can afford to have. Because when we hold a solid, true inner strength, we can afford to be gentle because we don't feel threatened. The strength is in here. And the threat isn't out there. It's not in her willingness or lack thereof to obey. It's not in how she submits. It's not in what happens in the circumstances of the world around us. Our strength isn't drawn from that. It's drawn from in here. That will help to create the safety that a woman is going to need in order to surrender, to submit, to follow, and see us as someone who has our shit together so she doesn't have to have her shit together.
It's easy to dominate when you keep your heart closed. What is it to keep your heart open and lead and feel things around you? That's when it becomes really hard. That's when you feel foolish. That's when you become vulnerable. That's when it takes courage. That's when it takes valor. Just keep that heart open.
Yeah, really important. I'm glad you jumped in with that, because ability to maintain an open heart in the presence of when she's sharing challenging things with you, or specifically responding to ways that you've shown up, like keeping your heart open and receiving that feedback is the hardest fucking thing that you can do. But the most important.
Sex is a motivational system. And yet when I have had the feeling inside of me that like I was literally going to die if I didn't have sex, it was such an angst feeling. Her call out was that this feeling that's so life or death is actually loneliness. It's actually me feeling lonely. We're mistaking feelings of loneliness for our desire for sex. We're using sex to satiate and connect and to feel less lonely. There's studies that say that loneliness is worse for you than smoking cigarettes. It is a fundamental human need to connect. And if we have a woman in our life, especially in a DS dynamic or some kind of dynamic where that woman is there for you, be very careful that you don't use her as a comforting place in your life unconsciously. This is where I love curiosity. This is where having a beginner's mind, having humility, having these other frequencies and energies is the escape valve. This is how you get to another place. And I bring this up because I think we all need to go on these journeys with sex. Stop having sex. Maybe stop having intercourse as sex. And maybe make a rule for yourself. Say, I'm just going to stop. And then just be curious. Appreciate you for calling out men that are using sex unconsciously as a place of connection to soothe themselves because we're feeling lonely or feeling grief. You really want a powerful, alchemizing relationship. Be in love with your woman. Be in love with the person you're with. Care about her. Be in your empathy with her. Be in your compassion with her. Be in your feeling of authenticity with her. Your vulnerability is not a problem. It's actually a pathway. It's a part of the solution.
If you're not living an integrated life, you can't live in integrity. So what does integrated mean? It means I'm the same person in my relationship and in my work and in my social life. Like I'm me, and then I'm showing up in all of these places. But if it's like I'm trying to do the relationship like this and then be like this at work with my friends and with my family, you've got all these different fake selves that you're trying to maintain. It's like you're juggling.
If this relationship and this dynamic isn't changing you and really bringing stuff up that's challenging to yourself, then you're not doing it right. It should feel easy all the time. A lot of times we go through making assumptions about what a DS looks like or what a relationship should look like. It should be something that asks of you to step into your authenticity. Like you're stepping into something that is a higher version of yourself. Stepping into your true self is really being impeccable. That's the impeccability. That's the authenticity.
And I think that's the thing we have to get past, is that becoming more of yourself means challenging who you think you are. It doesn't just mean reaffirming. It's not just making yourself right. It's being willing to be wrong about who you think you are and how you think you're supposed to be. If being wrong means you get closer to the truth, to what's real. So that's my calling to men. Question yourself. Be willing to question yourself. Don't be afraid of questioning yourself.
Men are primarily guided by a fear of embarrassment. Women are primarily guided by concern for safety. These fundamental differences create massive misunderstandings. Everything that I do that I have competence in, I enjoy doing. The mere fact that I'm good at it gives me pleasure in doing it. The anger that I've expressed is often just a mask for me feeling embarrassed or feeling shame. And so I came up with this metaphor where I said, women exist in a perpetual state of emergency response. So if a man is not holding space for a woman or is emotionally insecure or volatile, he could create a crisis in her system. Then she will shut down or she won't trust. And it's her not feeling safety. And she can feel that her dancing triggers you and you're uncomfortable. That might shut her down for years. If she loves you and she's surrendered to you, she's going to close down part of herself because of your reaction in that moment, if you're not alert to it. And it is my job and my masculine role to be unshakable presence during these emotional storms and not try to fix them right in the moment, not try to get defensive when it's directed at me, and for sure not shaming her for even having those emotions. Everything is on the other side of her feeling safe. It is so important for me as a man to witness her without judgment. Recognize that the core issues during a lot of relationship conflicts have to do because a woman feels unsafe and because a man is embarrassed. For men, if you can just name the fact that you're not actually angry beneath the surface, you're actually just embarrassed, you're feeling shame, you feel incompetent, you feel weak. I think open heart is such the massive balm. It is the way that we navigate challenging situations. If we can be receiving the other, the space is spoken about perfectly by Viktor Frankl in this quote. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. It's important to recognize that our amygdala in a primal state, that primal state wants us to move fast. It wants us to move now. There are times where we do need to act fast. But even in those moments, if we practice slowing down, when we're not in a stress moment, when we get in the stress moment, we can act with deliberation. You can turn a really challenging moment into a really beautiful, ecstatic moment, but we have to do that within ourselves first. There are times recently where I'm in the middle of lovemaking, I'm being triggered, and I'm able to do a practice in that moment, shift my energy and come back. The true alchemist is somebody who can transform emotional hardship into something beautiful, into growth, into freedom. Most importantly, is to really practice taking responsibility for ourselves. This is first and foremost, take responsibility. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Remember, change your mindset. In order to do that, change your setting. In order to do that, change your environment. I recognize that I am in an amazing relationship, in a dynamic where she looks to me as her leader, and I am also someone who struggles. That has been the thing I have worked through the most to come to this place where more and more I'm able to bring an equilibrium to it, feeling ourselves so we can heal, and naming these things so we can tame them become really important. I have power in a manner that considers and serves my guest. Another way of framing this in a relational context is I have power in a manner that serves my woman and serves the relationship. The host is actually a form of conscious dominance. The host controls the environment. The host establishes patterns for interacting. The host is responsible for the other's experience.
In these types of situations, it's important for us to recognize and reframe the notion that the person who's serving or in service is by default the surrendered or the sub or the one of less power in that situation. We're reframing this because we need to switch this paradigm around. Our capacity to listen is really our capacity to host, because it is in our capacity to listen that we can be empathetic, situationally aware, read the room, make the appropriate decisions. He's able to turn the moment around completely to his benefit by having a silent, strong presence. Everyone knows he's in charge. He's very situationally aware, and he's taking responsibility for all of them. But he doesn't do it in a manner that takes away their dignity if you're consciously hosting. What we need to do is move away from this frame where we think of dominance as control over the other. And this is why the non-reactivity is really important, because if you're going to do this well, you have to give voice to her. She's got to be able to speak back to you and give you feedback. You might be doing all this hosting and all this stuff, but you're missing the mark. Like, you're doing shit and she's not even into it. When women are asked about their favorite 3 words, many people assume it's, I love you. But for many women I know, for Rachael, what she truly longs to hear is, I got you. Women today carry an overwhelming invisible burden. Women shoulder disproportionate responsibility for household management, for social planning, for emotional labor, for anticipating family needs. Women crave spaces where they can fully surrender. But this requires a rare quality in a man. It's a man that's able to hold her both materially and energetically, both in the present moment and in the future. The genuine I got you comes from a place of humble competence. You have to be willing to be the fool. You have to be willing to make the mistake and then learn from it. Proactivity is better than no activity. So it's better to make the move than to give up and not try anything. But what's far better is to make the move at the right time and in the right situation. We as men make promises and we don't follow through. This is a trope for men, but it matters. The feminine, it's almost endearing when I hear her say she's going to do something and doesn't do it. It doesn't bother me at all. To a woman, when I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it or I don't follow through, it's just a little notch. It's like a decay. Do not take her tension as a signal to stay away when she really needs your support. The art of this is the art of attunement. This is not for the light of heart. If you're looking to just chill out, if you're looking to watch sports for 4 hours every night, if you're looking to play video games all the time, don't listen to me anymore. Why do women love being at a spa, hotel, or a restaurant where she's being taken care of? It's because she's being considered, because that space, those people, when they do it well, they got her. Whoever can hold her has got her. And whoever's got her is where she's going to be fully surrendered. In order to be expansive beings, the only way to truly be an expansive being that's sustainable over the long term is to learn how to die, to embrace the suck, to embrace the difficult things, and to even embrace death. The relationship itself is a vessel for transformation. It is a practice. It is something more akin to a martial art or yoga practice than any sort of relationship that I've been in before. The irony is that in order to expand, you must break down, you must contract. But it's how well you contract and then expand. Nature loves death. Nature loves the renewal. The real challenge is that most men don't know how to go through ego death. The hyper-masculine man often over-identifies with the masculine traits. And when those traits get tested, he loses. When I think of spirituality, I think of it as my capacity to have an ego death, my capacity to keep my heart open when I'm going through a challenging moment. The most beautiful people, the most awesome people out there, they've known defeat, they've known suffering, they've known grief, they've known struggle, they've known loss. We feel it in them.
I'm a master at messing up. I'm a master at being the fool of making mistakes and then alchemizing and coming back. You have to learn how to rupture and repair, rupture and repair. And you start to see that the rupture and the repair can be kind of this beautiful process. I've learned to love myself in this relationship. More than anything, I don't need the relationship to validate me. I don't need her surrender and her submission to make me feel like more of a man or make me feel like I am more loved. We fell in love when we first met because we shared a conviction to spirituality and commitment and a love of classic dom-sub relationships.
BDSM and Tantra, the weaving of the energies of dark and light, intensity and tenderness.
I was obsessed with finding something that can say yes to my sexuality and yes to my killer part of me. Yes to my spirituality and yes to my lust. How can I reconcile the parts of myself that are opposites? There was this clear conviction that I had to be a good boy all the time. And then there was this bad boy part of me, and the bad boy part of me had to live outside of my relationship.
In these moments, there's a special exchange, which we can call tantric, we can call shamanic, we can call cosmic, but really what it is a sacred weaving and an exchange where I feel very beast-like receiving that and being so comfortable in my own killer to see the killer in him, to say, you cannot scare me. I am just like you. I am equally as fierce. And in this moment, I'll let you tussle me, own me. And as you bring that into my body, you cannot make me afraid.
If you can't host his tears, you can't host his animal, the fierce side, the killer side.
That doesn't mean that he isn't in the dominant role, or that
Right.
he isn't in a place of strength or power. Can we get rid of that and see that it's actually in that moment where we are in it together, that we're in the cauldron of, if you want to call it healing, but I really love to think about it as repair. We are repairing. We are coming back to the pair, which is you with you. It is you with source, with God, with spirit, with universe. It is you with your partner. And that there's an immense part of this that can be very recalibrating to know that this trust is being reawakened.
Thanks for listening to Conscious Dominance Part 2, Year in Review. I hope these moments from this past year brought some insight, some reflection, maybe even to move forward with some sort of transformation in your life, if that's what you need. And if you haven't already, be sure to catch Part 1 and also check out next week's Season 5. Appreciate everyone being here. Also stay connected with us on Instagram at DSRX Studio. Appreciate everybody. Take care. See you next week.